my gosh, that's weird. But I'm here today for another live on Facebook. Gonna give it a few minutes, see if anyone is going to be joining me. And while I wait, hopefully I can see if technology is gonna work with me. I do need to try and send out an email, but okay, that may have to wait. Marvelous Monday, folks. It's another Facebook Live with Aisha Nesut Annie, and I've been singing all morning, so if I just start to sing in the middle of this live recording, like sing my words, don't be surprised. I've been in a singing mood all day. So, okay, let me just get in the zone. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about 3 myths about entrepreneurship and why you'll probably want to give up before you see results. Because let's face it, which entrepreneur do you know who hasn't felt like giving up or throwing in the towel at some point or the other, right? I mean, every single entrepreneur story that I've ever heard, I think, was prefaced with the wanting to give up. And so it's just like, for me, I just like to talk about some of the obvious things because I don't like to take them for granted, right? So the startup struggle is so real. And the truth is, if you're not cooking with the right gas, you will probably run out of steam really quickly because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to create something. So I was listening to this podcast this morning, and the guy was talking about going from idea to manifestation and the processes in between, and how much it takes out of us during the process. And I was like, damn, like I could totally relate, and I just felt like it was so ironic that I just landed on that podcast, and this is what I'm talking about today. So yeah, there are 3 myths. I mean, there are many myths about entrepreneurship, but there are 3 myths that I want to talk about today. Because a lot of times when we're in business, especially like in the early stages when we're just getting started, to us it could feel like we're failing, and maybe perhaps we're not cut out for this entrepreneur life. And let's talk about why you're probably gonna want to give up and why you shouldn't. But before we get into it, whether you're joining me live or if you're watching the replay of this video, I'd love for you to help me share this message with someone who you know that may need to hear it. So we all have that hustling entrepreneur friend who is out there doing their thing. And believe me, no matter how successful we get, no matter how successful we are in business, there will be those moments where we will question whether we have what it takes to keep going, especially when we have kind of surpassed like what our goals may have been for our business. When we pass that, it gets scary because now you have to create new goals, right? And so I think that no matter where people are in business, this is one of those messages that they can definitely hear. So help me by sharing the video with someone that you know in business who can benefit from the message. And of course, if anything resonates with you while you're watching, I'd love for you to tap the like button and, share a comment. Let me know what kind of hits home with you. Okay? And I see someone is with me, so please introduce yourself in the comments. Let me know who you are. Let me know you're here. And another thing that I want you to do, if you're watching and you're an entrepreneur, let me know how many times in the last 6 months, or probably maybe the last 12 months, the last year, let me know how many times in the last year as an entrepreneur, if you're watching this as an entrepreneur, how many times that you've thought about throwing the towel in, or how many times that you question your ability to move forward. because people talk about entrepreneurship all the time and they automatically think successful, rich, making money. What are some of the other things that come to mind? Being the boss. It's very rare that when people talk about entrepreneurship, and of course, I'm talking about the people who are not entrepreneurs, it's very rare that they talk about the hard work or the sacrifices, and even in some cases, the failures that we have to go through to get to the success, right? So today I wanted to share some of the myths that are kind of floating around about entrepreneurship, and also why you may want to give up but you shouldn't. And so one of the first myths is one that I think I fell for when I first dabbled into entrepreneurship, and that is, if you build it, they will come. And if you've heard that phrase before, let me know in the comments. But I've heard it many times. I don't even know who came up with it, but in entrepreneurship, this can be proven false time and time again. So the truth is, if you build it, no one will know you exist unless you do some good old marketing. And I'm not necessarily talking about like the car salesman type marketing. I'm just talking about drawing people to your brand or to your company. And there are so many options, so many ways that you can do that. You know, back in the 90s, like grassroots marketing was the biggest thing. That was like the trending thing back then. Like everything was grassroots marketing, right? And of course now, fast forward a couple decades, marketing has totally revolutionized. Well, I should say digital marketing has totally revolutionized the way companies position themselves in front of their ideal customers. And so things have changed so much from back when things were like get on the ground, talk to people, get into the communities. And I mean, it's still really the same concept, but it's just, I guess, in a different kind of way. So no matter what industry you're in, there will be competitors, and it would be super naive for you to go into business assuming that people are just going to find your business, your amazing product, or your amazing service. And I was one of those people who was super naive and felt like once it's a great product, people need it, people want it, they're going to find it. And no, that's just not how it works. You know what I mean? And just recently I saw a quote, probably in either a book or something that I was reading, and it said, if you're not marketing your business, my sinuses again, oh my gosh. It says, if you're not marketing your business, if you're not marketing, you're not in business. That's what it said. And I don't know, but it just kind of struck a chord because, again, thinking back to, you know, a lot of businesses, even when I look around here in the Bahamas, I see so many people in business, and it's like, wow, I didn't even know you were in business. And then it's like, how long were you in business? They're like 3 years. And I'm just like blown away, right? But that quote stuck out to me. So it's like, if you're not marketing, you're not in business. That's what it says. So you can let me know if you think it's facts or if that's alternative facts or what. So I see some folks online. Let me know you guys are here. I don't know why my screen is so, I can't see my screen. That's weird to me. I hope you can see it. But anyway, so the takeaway from this myth is build it, and while you're building it, okay, see, hey Kim, yes. So build it, and while you're building it, make sure people have ways to come in contact with your business. You know, even if it means like putting aside a few dollars just so that you know when it's time to market, you have a little budget for it, because it doesn't make sense investing, and this is another thing people do. They invest all the time and all the money into creating the product, and then when you ask them, okay, well, how much money do you have to market this product or this service? They say they don't have a budget for it. And so that's a myth. Let's kind of reverse that, and let's get on top of letting people know about our amazing products and our amazing services through marketing, right? And then the next thing is the second myth is being an entrepreneur is a get rich quick formula. And listen, I'm sure, again, if you talk to people who are in business, they will tell you this is so far from the truth. And I've talked about this before in some of my previous lives. Again, people look at successful entrepreneurs and then they assume that they make these accomplishments overnight. And that is very rarely the case. People don't understand like the footwork that goes into creating something great, right? And so, can you have financial freedom through, or can you gain financial freedom through entrepreneurship? Absolutely. Will it be a get rich quick formula? Probably not. And I've studied like my fair share of successful entrepreneurs, and in every single one of their stories, the prefixes were the years of dedication, the sacrifice, the hard work, the disappointments, the failures, the successes, and then finally them getting into their sweet spot. Like, this is not something that happens overnight, and there's a process that almost every entrepreneur will go through as they develop, create, fine-tune, and become the experts in their particular industry. So this all takes time. There is no, what they say, there is no elevator. Like, you have to take the stairs. I mean, now, disclaimer, you do have instances where people do like hit it off and they run out the gate with it. I'm not saying that that's not possible, but what I am talking about is the like 85 to 90% of entrepreneurs who do it the traditional way, which is actually working through the process. And so this myth that you show up today and tomorrow you'll be just where you want to be, it doesn't really work that way. And so one of my favorite sites, which I love to visit, startups.co, I just recently read, it says it takes at least 4 years just to get pointed toward a real business. And I'd argue that it takes another 7 to 10 years to make your startup the success that you had in mind when the dream came to you. And so while these numbers are, I don't know what statistics they use to create it or formulate it, but nonetheless, it just shows you that on average, this is not something that's, you come into it today and then tomorrow, you're a ball of status or whatever. So the takeaway from this is that being an entrepreneur, if you're willing to give yourself grace and time, at the end of the day, you can create something that will allow you to build wealth. You know what I mean? And I used this quote before too, from Tony Robbins, and I love it. So you may hear me say it over and over again. Tony Robbins, he said, most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. And like, that was from his documentary, I'm Not Your Guru. So if you've not seen that documentary and you're an entrepreneur, please go and watch it. I've seen it like near 30 times, right? But when he said that, the first time I heard him say that, I was like hit with bricks, because I was like, damn, that is so real on so many levels. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year. I've done it. And underestimate what they can do in a decade. So like, I think entrepreneurship is really for the long haul. And when you think entrepreneurship, you're thinking like building wealth versus, right now, get rich right now. So if you have any thoughts on this, let me know. If anyone started a business thinking they'd become a millionaire right out of the gate, and it happened, please let me know. I'd love to hear your story. But for most of us, no, it doesn't happen that way. So that's that myth. And the next myth that I want to share, because this is also a common one, and it's that people believe that there is a quote unquote secret to success. And we hear it all day, every day. What's the secret to this and the secret to that, and secrets, right? And in truth, I personally don't believe that there is a secret. I believe the secret is that there is no secret. I like to look at business like science. So if you want a particular result, you have to put in certain ingredients, certain chemicals, right? And so, for example, water, H2O. You know you're going to need 2 particles of H, hydrogen, and 1 particle of O, oxygen. So if you want that water to be created, you're not going to come with 2 oxygens and 1 hydrogen. Like, that's not how it works. You're going to bring in the ingredients that's needed to create the result that you want. And so, likewise, I think there's somewhat of a science to business, and maybe some may say that's the secret, I don't know. But the information is out there. Like, at this point, there's so much information available to us that really nowadays information overload and consumerism is a thing, right? So people love consuming this information all day, every day. And then when it comes to time to apply it, it's like over the shoulder, over the head or whatever. And but the point is, if you really want to know what ingredients are needed to create a successful business, the information is there. Is it all free? Maybe, maybe not. You may have to invest to really put the pieces together or to be able to get all of the information that you need. But nonetheless, the information is there. And so I really don't think there's a secret to success. You study the science, study the greats, and the common ingredients will be there. So you pull those ingredients out, and then you use that to formulate, your business success blueprint, right? And I think most businesses, or a lot of businesses, fail because they lack one or more of those key core ingredients. And so, with that said, people have this idea that entrepreneurship is easy, and it's not easy. It's not the most difficult thing in the world, especially depending on what industry you're in. But it's also not just like a walk in the park. There's some work that's required. And especially since most of us who venture into entrepreneurship are first-generation business owners. And it's likely that a percentage of us did not go to business school, and we just naturally kind of wound up on this path to entrepreneurship. And so we're creating these new models for ourselves and for our families, and we don't necessarily have the information, or we don't necessarily have the access to the information. It depends, or at least I would say back then, because so much has changed even in the last 10 to 15 years. So much has changed. So while I know 10 years ago accessing certain industry leaders was like so difficult, in fact it was actually almost near impossible. Like if you weren't in certain circles or whatever, accessing certain people just seemed out of reach. But now, like with social media especially, I mean, you can get almost in anyone's inbox. You have contacts for people. I mean, the access has changed. And so bottom line is, we're bound to make mistakes. We're bound to have expectations that may be somewhat unrealistic. We're bound to feel like giving up. But what separates the business owners from the thrill seekers, and I say this very loosely because there are some people that explore entrepreneurship and discover it's not for them. That's just the reality. The responsibilities as a entrepreneur, it quadruples, and the things that you have to manage and oversee, it seems endless. And so not everyone is cut out for that, and it's okay to be honest with yourself and say, hey, I prefer to have a career. And another idea, and I've heard this a lot too, where people say, this is a meme that goes around where people say it says you build your dream or work for somebody else and build theirs, or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. If you know what it is, put it in the comments. But it's something to that degree, like either build your dream or spend your life working to build someone else's dream. And they say it in a way like that's a bad thing. And the reality is, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It isn't. And there is nothing like devaluing about working with a company that you love, or doing a career that you love. Or, I mean, once you're doing what you love, it doesn't matter, or it shouldn't matter, whether it's in your own business or in someone else's business. The most important thing should be just being able to show up and be your best self in whatever capacity that is. But nonetheless, not everyone is cut out for entrepreneurship. But for everyone else that's in the struggle, holding on, here's why. I have like 2 reasons why I think that you should not give up just yet, and why you should continue to push through. And the first reason is very, very, very simple. It's like, you did not come this far to give up. You have invested your time, you've probably lost sleep. I'm sure you've put in your hard-earned money into your business. And it's very likely that that's something that you're doing every day as a business owner. Like, you're putting in time, you're putting in money, you're putting in resources. And so whether you're at the beginning of your journey or you've been at it for a while, if you're not seeing the results yet that you want in your business, remember what I said earlier from startups.co. And if that's not a site that you've visited before, check it out, because they do have a lot of useful information that you can use as a business owner. But like they said, it takes at least 4 years just to get pointed toward a real business, like just to feel grounded in your business. That could take up to 4 years. And so maybe, if you've been in business already for 4 years and you're still not seeing the results that you want, then maybe you point your focus on that science, making sure you're not missing out on any of those key ingredients. Because if you are, no matter how long you're doing this, you may not get the results you desire. And then if you're thinking about, okay, so the science, what's the science, right? What's those key ingredients? Again, the information is out there, but that's a live that's going to be coming, because I'm going to talk about that some more. So stay tuned for that. Just putting that out there. So yeah, but don't throw in the towel, because you've already invested so much, and you didn't come this far to only come this far. Like, keep going, okay? And the other thing is, what's the other thing? The other reason why I don't think that you should give up is because most entrepreneurs are passion driven, and passion is usually driven by purpose. So you have passion, you have purpose. And so when you are in alignment with yourself, with you, and your work is usually a reflection of your purpose. And so, not to say that your work determines your value, because it doesn't, and that's another thing with entrepreneurs. They tend to identify with their work as them. Another topic for another day. But nonetheless, some of the greatest entrepreneurs have created legacies that was aligned with where their work was aligned with their purpose. And so you don't want to give up on something that you are destined to do or to be doing. You want to use each stage of your journey to help you grow, expand, and create a brand and a business that you can be proud of. So while I could talk about this probably for the rest of the day, I think the whole point of what I'm trying to say here, or the whole reason why I decided to do this live, was because I wanted to be able to encourage any entrepreneur who's out there, who's just getting started, or who's up against some challenges, or questioning whether they have what it takes to keep going. I wanted to come here today and encourage you to keep going. We all face those challenges. We all have our struggles. And that is actually one of the reasons why I have created the online community for entrepreneurs called Blueprint Business Society. And if you've not had a chance to visit the group. Oh, actually, I think you have to request to be a member of the group, because truthfully, I only want persons in the group who really want to be empowered by entrepreneurs, and who also want to lend their expertise and skills to other entrepreneurs. So I really want it to be a collaborative group. So I've asked for people to request to join, because if that's not the intent, I don't want it to be another one of those Facebook groups where people just come and they're just there. And but if you're interested in being involved in a community where we collaborate, where we grow together, where we plan together, then that's the group for you. So look for Blueprint Business Society on Facebook. I'm just plugging that in there. That was not planned, but it was perfect timing. So so that was why I came here today. And I was listening to a podcast the other day with Marie Forleo, and she said this funny thing that was so cool and so amazing. And I'm definitely, I wrote it down and I'm sticking with it. And she says, the world doesn't just need more small businesses. The world needs more women billionaires. And so I'm like, oh gosh, the wind. And I'm like, okay, yes, Marie, yes, I'm here for it. So that's it. That's my live for today. If you guys have any questions or comments about this topic, or if you have any suggestions of things that I can talk about on these lives, because I'm going to be doing these for quite some time. So I'd love to, talk about things that you actually want to hear me talk about, right? So send me a direct message or leave a comment, and whatever you're comfortable with, let me know. If you have any suggestions of things that I should talk about on these lives. And of course, again, like I said earlier, if you can share this with someone that you know who maybe, whether they're struggling entrepreneur, new entrepreneur, or even somebody that's solid in their business, but I promise you, even they need the encouragement to keep going. Share the video for me. Of course, like the video, and find me on social media. I'm on Facebook, and also on Instagram, Twitter, and a couple other places. So that's it for today. Peace and love, fam. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and have a fabulous week.